Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the August 2020 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Legislative Chamber of the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via Webex. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. As a reminder to board members, senior management, and OPPD staff that are using Webex, please mute your microphones to reduce the background noise. To members of the public, thank you for attending. I see many new names out there, so it's great to have you. If you joined us via Webex, you are in listen-only mode. If you have any technology questions, please use the chat feature in Webex to communicate with the event host. If you are disconnected from the Webex conference, we ask that you just simply rejoin in the same manner as when you originally joined. For those who have joined us in person today, there is an attendee sign-in sheet at the entrance of the Legislative Chamber. The sign-in sheet is for public health contact tracing purposes. Okay, I will now ask Tim Burke, President and CEO, to give the safety brief.
Hey, thank you very much, Chairman Moody. Very much, Chairman Moody. We are currently at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center in the Legislative Chambers at 1819 Farnham Street. We had a briefing of security both on fire alarms, fire suppression materials, exits, AED, first aid equipment, emergency exits. We have a variety of Douglas County law enforcement that's in the room, as well as OPPD security staff. We will be directed to the appropriate place, and for the individual from the public that is here, we'll ask you to be directed by our security staff as well. I'm going to go to the next sheet here. We have historically, over the last several months, talked about the 10 actions for every Nebraskan to be taking to slow the spread of COVID-19. And obviously, you can't turn on the news without seeing kind of what's going on within our community, within our region, within the state of Nebraska. The common themes here is maintain good hygiene, wash your hands, disinfect your hands, social distancing as we are here, and the wearing of masks, which is an OPPD policy in any public areas that we are, except in our offices. So we'll make sure that we continue to do that, and we thank the directors for living up to that policy as well. And this is just a depiction we showed a month or two ago about the impacts about wearing a cloth face covering in public. And it's just a great opportunity for us to reinforce that, not only for the public, but for the employees and others that may be watching this board meeting. And with that, that concludes my safety briefing.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Thank you, Mr. Burke. Much appreciated. Okay, so now we're going to run through our list of guidelines for the conduct of this meeting. So for those of you that are new, we want to go through these diligently. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on oppd.com. This meeting is being conducted in person and via Webex events and is being recorded. So today is the first time when we're actually going to take comments in person and via Webex. So I'm actually really excited about the fact that this is setting a new precedent for us. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are a part of the official public record. Following board discussion on each pending matter, I will ask for public comment before bringing the matter to a vote. Also, prior to adjournment of the meeting, so at the very end, everyone will have an opportunity to comment on any other matters of OPPD business. So as we go through the agenda, just to reiterate, we'll stop at each action item. The board will comment. We'll give the public an opportunity to comment both in person and Webex. We will vote, and then we'll move on to the next matter and have opportunity to comment after each one. If you'd like to comment on that matter in particular, please do. If your comments are general in nature, please wait until the end of the meeting, and we'll take any and all public comments at that time. So let's first review the two options for Webex attendees to notify us. Option one, which you can see now, involves sending the meeting technology host a message using the chat feature simply by stating that you would wish to speak. Brent, meeting host, can you walk us through this, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Chair Moody. For those who have joined us using a computer or the Webex mobile app, you will find a button in your Webex interface to open the chat panel. Once you've opened, you may open this panel, you may send your message into the meeting host. Requests to provide comments will be relayed to the corporate secretary for recognition during the public comments section.
Option 2 being displayed. Go right ahead.
Yep, so Webex allows for attendees to virtually raise their hand. We would ask that this feature be used to indicate to OPPD that you wish to be recognized to provide comments. You will find the hand raise button in the participant list panel as displayed on the slide. Once you have been recognized, please press the hand raise button again to virtually lower your hand. For those who have joined only via telephone, Webex has a feature to also raise your hand as well. Please press *3 to raise and lower your hand. When we see your hand raised, we will acknowledge you by referencing a portion of your phone number, such as caller with a phone number beginning in 402-123. If you wish to provide comments when recognized, please wait a brief moment to be unmuted and begin speaking.
Okay, thank you. So 3 options. Use whichever one is the easiest for you. I'll allow plenty of time at each opportunity for public comment for members of the public to provide notification via Webex. When I call on a member of the public to speak, our meeting technology host will unmute your microphone. Before commencing your comments, I suggest you first affirm that we can hear you. And once we've done that, please state your name and address and state the name of any organization or person you are representing. Organizations ideally should choose one representative to speak on behalf of the organization. At each opportunity for public comment, you will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending at the discretion of the board. To assist you, we will display a timer to ensure each member of the public receives a consistent amount of time. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. For in-person attendee, I should say, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone while maintaining at least 6 feet of social distance. We ask that you wear your mask while speaking into the microphone. Again, please state your name and address and the name of any organization or person you represent. You will also be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we also have a timer in the room. All public comments, please direct them to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. If you have written materials, you please email them to Ms. Henners at mfhinners, that's MFHINNERS @oppd.com, or if you're in the room, just go ahead and hand them to her. And she will receive and distribute as necessary. Okay, in summary, the way that this is going to work is we will first do Webex comments. Then we will do in-room comments, and then I'll just have a last call just to make sure there's not anything lingering. Okay? One last comment for board members as a reminder, you have the microphone in front of you. Nobody can hear you on the Webex unless you unmute yourself, so don't forget to do that when you're speaking. And obviously, fortunately, we restarted to allow people to rejoin. We wrapped up so the preliminary discussion of what the protocol is for the meeting, so we are now on to roll call. Ms. Henners, can you call the roll?
Wagner. Here. Kavanaugh.
Here.
Tim Gay was unable to make it tonight. McGuire. Here. Molhoff. Here. Moody.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Yoder.
Here. Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing same in Outlets newsletter and on oppd.com, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza since August 7, 2020, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on that same date. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on oppd.com. The board consent action items for tonight is as follows. Item 6, approval of the June 2020 Comprehensive Financial and Operating Report, July 2020 meeting minutes, and the August 13, 2020 agenda. Item 7, 345, 161, 13.8 kV, 300, 400, 500, 560 MVA OLTC auto transformer Resolution number 6387, and item 8, Fall 2020 Transmission Construction, Resolution number 6388. If there are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda items, I need a motion and a second to approve the items.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We discussed these action items at the committee meeting on Tuesday, so there will be no board discussion. So that turns us to the public. At this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on these consent agenda items. If you'd like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in Webex. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their virtual hand. After we take Webex comments, we will take comments from in-room attendees. Okay, I'm going to take a moment to see if there are any Webex requests to make a comment. Not seeing any raised hands. Brent, do we have a chat request?
I do not see one, sir.
Okay. Any comments from those public members present? Seems the answer is no. I'll pause one last time to see if there are any Webex requests. Okay, seeing and hearing none, could we have the roll, Ms. Henners?
Wagner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Molohoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Board discussion item number 9, SD9 Resource Planning Monitoring Report, Resolution number 6389. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Omaha Public Power District accepts the SD9 Resource Planning Monitoring Report in the form as set forth on Exhibit A, attached hereto and made a part hereof, and finds OPPD to be sufficiently in compliance with the policy as stated.
This is Director Mulhoff, and I make a motion that we approve this monitoring report.
This is Director McGuire, and I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Director Molhoff, can you kick this conversation off, please?
Yes, I will repeat what I said on Tuesday, and I want to recognize the Power with Purpose team. And that team had employees from across the utility, and I want to recognize their innovation modeling approach, their hard work and long hours invested in the resource plan that they developed. Do any
Stand by. We are looking into the connection from the legislative chambers. Thank you. For those who are in the attendee list and have joined us, just please stand by while we work through this silence at this time. Thank you. And we are still working on this. Thank you very much for your patience.
Hey, Brent, I guess the attendees can hear us. So it might be worth just explaining that.
The recording has been resumed.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've been having some technical difficulties, which is to say, it sounds like you were able to see what was on the screen, but not hear or see us. So we're taking a little break, but we're going to be ready to start back up here in just a second. We're just seeking to ascertain when you lost audio so that we can pick up then. And it sounds like it was with Director Mulhoff's comments, introductory comments. Is that right, Tim, that we're hearing? Okay. Okay, so we've got everybody back. We are on agenda item number 9. We've already had a motion and a second. So we are now having board discussion. And I'm going to kick it back to you, Director Mulhoff, to make those introductory comments again. Mic on.
So as I said on Tuesday, I want to recognize the Power with Purpose team with employees from across the utility on their innovative modeling approach, their hard work and long hours invested on the resource plan that they developed. Thanks to y'all. And I would ask for comments from other board members at this time.
Dr. Williams?
Yeah, thank you. So the last time we had an SD9 monitoring report was last August. And then immediately after that, we had a strategic planning workshop where we discussed whether or not the bullets that are outlined and the metrics in SD9 are appropriate to make sure that the board is providing sufficient policy guidance on what we would like to see. There was some discussion about there being uncertainty about whether or not the SD language was sufficient. So the work that was done through the Power with Purpose resource planning activity, again, as Janice said, is very much appreciated and gave us great results to meet the technical needs of the district while meeting our mission of affordable, reliable, and environmentally sensitive energy. As we look again at the specific language in the SD9. The slides that were presented on Tuesday, there's one that talks about the long-term integrated resource planning process and includes a small orange box as a baseline input for demand-side resource options. And if we look back to the February 2017 integrated resource plan, there are a couple of specifics listed on the demand-side resources under bullet points 4.1.1, 2, and 3 for distributed generation, electric vehicles, and energy efficiency. And so these are resources that should be accounted and currently aren't listed in SD9. And so as we try and evaluate whether or not we have sufficiently met the strategic directive language, we can only base it on what's currently written and not what we wish was in there. And so as we look forward, I hope that we will look at some of the details that we have talked about on Tuesday and at other times throughout the year and incorporate these into updates in Strategic Directive 9. But for review of the activities within the last year, based on what is written in the current version, I do think that we have sufficiently met the outline of and the bullets that are listed. And I hope that as we go to the strategic planning retreat in a couple of weeks, we will consider what updates to Strategic Directive 9 might be useful for us to give sufficient guidance on the integrated resource planning process that will occur in 2021 and how we can continue to make sure that we're providing sufficient policy guidance for activities within OPPD. So I appreciate the work that was done within the last year. I do think that we have met the terms of the SD as it is currently written.
Thank you, Director Williams. Just as good as it was the first time. Well done. For purposes of the public, Director Williams did refer to a board retreat. That is coming up on August 25th and 26th from 1 to 4 p.m. on both days, and you will be able to attend via Webex events there as well. Dr. Yoder?
Thank you, Director Moody. So SD9, I'm struggling with whether we met the complete intent of SD9 as written. The part I struggle with is whether we took a short-term versus long-term view. Long-term view of resource planning would have kicked us into WAPA, Integrated Resource Planning, which was last done by the Omaha Public Power District, published in February of 2017 and done previously in 2011. And that's where I struggle. The difference between them was described as being one of a matter of scale and long term. The gas-fired units we have in Sarpy County were initially put in about the time I got out of high school, and we're going to have our 50th class reunion here soon. To me, that's long term. And that's part of the solution that Power with Purpose came up with. I think Power with Purpose is a good program. The board approved it in November. The other element, though, is a matter of scale. The difference between 2011 and 2017 integrated resource plans, published in February 2017, there was a reduction from the 2011 estimate, best guess analysis of the demand that OPPD would be facing. And it was reduced downwards, the difference between the 2011 and 2017 IRPs. That's about the time, I first joined the board in 2017 in January. And when we talked about Power with Purpose, that lowering of demand became much greater. The expectation was one of adding a demand of the city of Lincoln. So there's such a huge disconnect there in my perspective, that I really don't see how we could not have done a full IRP based on the scale and the length of time. So I'm struggling with it. Are we doing what the IRP says we're going, or what the SD9 says we should be doing? Now, having said that, I think the team did a great job with Power with Purpose. The technical folks went over and above. They did innovative things. They put in extra hours. They had to deal with questions from me and other board members. And I'm thankful that the board members asked. I'm also thankful for the amount of time and effort that people took to explain what they did. But I'm still struggling back to the scale, back to the long term. That's it.
Thank you, Director Yoder. Other comments?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment in relationship to Director Yoder's idea of long-term versus short-term view. And what happened in 2017, or since 2017. Since 2017, Sarpy County has had a tremendous amount of economic development. We've had travelers insurance first came in, Facebook came in with huge data center. And then we had this thing called Project Wizard that was kept very, very quiet for a long, long time until things were finally settled, which brings us to the amount of energy that we need, about the size of Lincoln. And this is something that needed to be done right away. I'm not sure if we could have possibly gotten Power with Purpose done at the same time of trying to do an IRP at this time, especially since we had, starting in 2000, remember when we went back in 2017 and wrote that, we said we're going to close down number 4 and 5 as far as our coal plants up in North Omaha. If we're going to close that down, all of a sudden we were short. We don't have an excess of demand, and we had to figure out how we were going to handle this. We handled it with a tremendous amount, with actually, we're breaking all barriers here as far as renewable energy, as far as solar energy at the same time, with gas at the same time, providing resiliency and our load that we really, really need. I do think, as far as SD9, that we need to go back and look at this. It's going to take some time, and I look forward to looking at it. But I think that we have met all what we have right now written as it is. I think we're going to have a very vibrant discussion in 2 weeks based on this. We could probably spend the entire 2 days just on this. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. McGuire. Other comments, colleagues? Okay, I'll just offer some really quick ones, which is to say, to echo the fact that I think a year ago we discussed this SD and agreed that it needed to be resolved. We haven't gotten to it, and I think it's going to be important for us to do that as it's written. Again, I think, you know, to me, the thing that struck me about that conversation a year ago was it's written as it's more of a how we do things and how we do planning rather than the what, which is really where our space should be as board members. So this is kind of honestly, kind of feels like, it feels a little funky to me, but nevertheless, as written, which is really the question that's on the table, are we in compliance? And it's my view that we are. So without any additional board member comments, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. So members of the public, I would like you to make public comment. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in Webex. For the telephone users that are out there, please press *3 to raise your virtual hand. After we take Webex comments, we will take comments from in-room attendees. Okay. Any members of the public wish to make any comment via Webex? Scanning for hands. I don't see any. Brent, do we have any chat requests?
I have not had any requests.
Okay. We'll give them a moment to raise their hands. Any members of the public in the room would like to make any comments? Come on up. Yep. Please state your name and address, and you've got 3 minutes.
Sure. My name is Scott Williams, 3820 Jones Street. That's a subdivision represented by Director McGuire. This is an interesting change of venue. So thank you to everyone who's here, both from Oppd and locally, for protecting the health and safety of us all. I appreciate the efforts you've undertaken today. I participated in the RFP process in 2017 in the public engagement section. And already the district is engaged in this process. Again, 5 years flies by just like that. And I am looking forward to the opportunity for public engagement with the district again during this RFP process. I think that there are a couple of opportunities that the integrated resource plan can examine that may not have had the dedicated study that might be appropriate going into the 2020s. Specifically, I think that beneficial electrification can be a substantial benefit to the district and also to our community, both in terms of transportation, individual cars, fleet vehicles, and mass transit all provide interesting opportunities in terms of beneficial electrification. And then also in non-transportation sectors, heat pumps, water heaters, the types of things that we have in our residences, as well as small businesses and even large commercial and industrial applications. So the opportunity for those types of things to be considered in terms of strategic planning for the district long-term is fantastic. And I think there are just essentially nothing but opportunities there. And I'm glad that this process will be able to further capture how that will be of benefit to the district and the community. I think that storage or distributed energy resources or some framework thereof is obviously essential. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this is addressed as well, both in terms of large grid storage and then also the types of technologies and policies that would facilitate distributed capacity in that sense as well. And it's not clear how these types of areas are going to overlap, whether distributed storage is a distributed energy resource or whether that's a separate bullet point as it were. But fortunately, this process is looking forward. And so there are opportunities to evaluate that and make the most out of a cohesive framework. And I think that distributed generation is something the district continue to look forward to. That empowers the ratepayers, the customer owners of the district to be able to help produce the types of things that we need in our own lives. And lastly,
30 seconds.
Thank you. And lastly, smart grid resources will be able to facilitate and enable several other things I've mentioned previously. Generation, storage can be facilitated by a much smarter type of back and forth metering and monitoring, as well as time of use. And I think those are interesting resources that can be evaluated in the future. The IRP process can provide that framework that's essential for the resources for the district's future. And by reviewing SD9, the board of directors has the opportunity to direct that IRP process and strengthen the future of the district and the district's position in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Much appreciated. Any additional comments from the public in the room? Seeing none, I'm going to do a last call for comments virtually. Do not see any hands raised. Brent, do we have any chat requests?
We do not, sir.
Okay. That concludes public comment. Ms. Henners, could you call the roll, please?
Wagner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Mulhall,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 10, resolution number 6390, statement of support and appreciation for the employees of OPPD. Whereas the electric utility industry is now, more than ever, experiencing rapid, transformative change that requires a diligent and steadfast focus on OPPD's mission to provide affordable, reliable, and environmentally sensitive energy services. Whereas OPPD employees have manifested the significance of OPPD's core values, passion to serve, honor our community, and care about each other through their actions in service of the district. Whereas OPPD employees demonstrated extraordinary commitment to customer owners when responding to a major straight-line windstorm that resulted in over 57,000 outages in the OPPD service territory on August 10th, 2020. Whereas OPPD employees have been working diligently to execute on the district's Power with Purpose plan, adding utility-scale solar and natural gas peaking facilities. Whereas OPPD employees have demonstrated resilience, flexibility, and commitment to the district's mission in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, which put extraordinary challenges on the operations of the district. Whereas OPPD employees have and continue to explore myriad opportunities to assist customer owners in navigating through an extraordinarily difficult economic situation. Whereas OPPD employees are undertaking 5 major strategic initiatives that will keep OPPD leading the way towards its transition as the utility of the future. Whereas OPPD employees have creatively explored and implemented new ways to engage its customer owners as customer needs and technologies change. Whereas OPPD employees continue their excellent work to decommission and deconstruct the Fort Calhoun Nuclear Station facility. Whereas OPPD employees have impressively maintained financial stability and instituted cost improvement practices that have maintained a no general rate increase for 4 years. And whereas OPPD employees have maintained a high focus on and achieved high marks for safety, system reliability, and customer service. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District, at a meeting duly convened on the 13th day of August 2020, hereby publicly expresses its sincere appreciation of and support for the work of the employees of Omaha Public Power District.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. So I've always felt that resolutions like this, I've never really felt that they were all that important or helpful, but I realize that in some cases they are really important and helpful. And, you know, especially at a time when we as board members, and it's the first time we've been together since March, we haven't physically been in the same room as other OPPD employees for just as long. It's really hard to express our gratitude and appreciation via an email, text message, or over Webex. The other thing that I would add is, you know, as one of the things that I have the opportunity as chair is I get to talk with the CEO on a very regular basis, at a minimum a couple times a month. But you know, naturally we're in pretty close contact, and I have a much better line of sight into what's happening in the organization than probably most of the other board members because of that opportunity. And through those conversations, it's become pretty clear to me that, and this is probably no surprise to anyone, but the amount of work that is happening within the organization right now is pretty unforeseen and large. There's just so much going on, and in many ways we're not missing a beat. You know, whether it be a pandemic, a windstorm that takes out 57,000 customers. The work that's happening is just extraordinarily impressive. And so we as a board, I'll give everybody an opportunity to comment to be sure, but we as a board feel that it's important. And I think it's important for us to really just kind of lean forward and say, we support the work that's happening and we appreciate the work that's happening. I would love to go around the district and shake everyone's hand. That's not going to work. But nevertheless, this is, you know, one way in which we as a board can very formally step forward and say, we acknowledge it, we see it, we appreciate it, and we support it. Other comments from board members? Director Kavanaugh.
Yeah, Craig, I agree with you that sometimes some resolutions are kind of just symbolic and not much else, but this is certainly an exception. I think it is important that we periodically do speak up and show our support for the hardworking men and women of this organization in all areas. When we fail to mention our appreciation, help the employees, please don't take our silence for lack of appreciation, because we truly do. And you know, especially in this time right now with all the challenges the organization is facing and doing a great job of it. We're very proud of them.
Thank you, Director Kavanaugh. Others?
I'll go next. This is Director Molhoff. You know, Omaha may not coast, but OPPD employees don't slow down from 100 miles an hour. I have seen that over and over and over again. Anytime something comes to me, a question, a problem, an issue, someone's right on it. I know that OPPD employees are working 24/7 to keep your power on and to keep the organization running. So not just the folks in generation and transmission and distribution, but those in HR and payroll and those behind the scenes who, sort the mail and all of those things that have to be done even during a pandemic. And now, they're also trying to juggle getting their children's education. So, yeah, OPPD employees not only don't coast, they just keep going 100 miles an hour. So thanks to all of you.
I'll go next. Director Bogner, I want to especially express my gratitude to Mary's business unit. The energy production teams work very long hours around the clock, generating power. This is not easy work by any means, and it deserves a very hearty thanks. So thank you so much to that group specifically.
Thank you, Director Wagner. Other comments?
Director Williams, in addition to this list, I think it's important we don't forget that in March of 2019, we had another unprecedented disaster. And so in back-to-back years, we have had things that are literally impossible to foresee, no matter how good at forecasting you might be. And on top of that, we continue the work mentioned with Power with Purpose, with the Strategic Vision 2050 that's underway, and the general transformation to be a leader in the clean energy industry of the future. And so everything that staff has done and continues to do, again, is very much appreciated. The list of things here cannot be overstated, including Fort Calhoun and the dedication even this week. I know that OPPD was definitely working 24/7 at my own house. There were people outside cutting trees in the middle of the night to make sure that the power came back on. And so I was very pleased to watch the number of outages decline rapidly and then continue down Monday night and through Tuesday to get power back to people as needed. So for all of the things that have happened over the last 2 years since I've been here, and even up to and including Monday, Tuesday, and what we've done here with the public health considerations, thank you to everyone for your ongoing work. It really is the baseline for what allows the rest of our community to be successful.
Director Williams, other comments?
I'd like to join the chorus and give my thanks as best as I can and heartfelt, appreciated. If I'm going to give it a shout out, I guess out of the PI committee, I definitely want to shout out to those people who, as Director Moha pointed out, are dealing with the back to school issues and the COVID issues, both personally, but then facing the added burden in the customer facing areas of the people who come to them with their own burdens. So they have to deal with the customer's burdens as well as their own. These are certainly trying times, and I am thrilled at the level of effort and the level of activity and going beyond mere competence, just really able to deliver excellent service. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Yoder.
And if I can add my little bit, is that the bottom line is we have some outstanding employees. And why is that? Well, I think we have a very strong foundation. OPPD has always prided itself as family. They take care of one another's. I think we have that strong foundation. I give a heads up and everything to all of our retirees to thank them for that strong foundation. At the same time, there is 11 whereases here, and I hope we got everybody here. And there wasn't the retirees, but I'm adding the retirees to my little plus on that one. But at the same time, we've never really been challenged like we've been in these past few years with the amount of change that's happening with the utility industry. And at the same time, we have the most engaged board, I think, in the history of OPPD. And with that comes many, many challenges for management to handle that. So I really appreciate how kind they are to us as we challenge them. And I appreciate also that they say, whoa, slow down. And I appreciate that thought. We will think of that. Thank you very much to everyone.
Indeed. Any additional comments, board members? Okay, we'll take public comment on this. So those of you on Webex at this time, you have, again, 3 options. Send a chat to the meeting host, use the hand raise feature, and telephone users, please press *3 to raise your hand. Looks like I'm getting a message from our Brent, our meeting host. He wants to verify that the hand raising function is working. So yes, could we just test that? Dr. Corbin, you're a regular attendee. Could you raise your virtual hand to confirm that the hand raise feature is in fact working? I don't see it. Could we, I see Alan Vivolka's got his hand up. All right, so the hand.
No. Mr. Corbin also has his hand raised. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we're good. All right, so we're going to take some public comment via Webex now. I'm going to call on Alan Vivolka first. So as a reminder, step 1, confirm that we can hear you. And step 2, name and address, and then you've got 3 minutes for comments. So Mr. Vivolka, go ahead as soon as you're unmuted. Can we unmute Mr. Vivolka, please?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, I cut in front of Alan because we're married. This is Francis Mendenhall.
Got it. Thank you, Francis.
And 3715 Hamilton. Let's see. Okay, I think that's the preliminaries. I just really appreciate the extraordinary extra work that has dropped in your laps lately with the COVID problems and then this derecho storm the other day. So I really do. I am amazed and grateful. But what I want to call your attention to, like I did a month ago, is the decarbonization plan. And I'm not surprised or upset if it got put on the back burner. I get that. But please don't take it off the stove. And if you could tell me what happens next on the process and whether you have a date when it will be finished, I'd appreciate it. And if you don't, well, I'll ask you again next month.
Thank you, Francis. Do we have a quick answer for this?
Yeah, Dr. Mendenhall, this is Tim Burke, and our team is working through, we presented several months ago on our decarbonization strategy, really to have most of that work done by the middle of 2021. And that's just the planning work on what that would look like. Now, I would ask Mary Fisher, who may be on the WebEx call, to confirm that, but it'll be in 2021 because there'll be a variety of engagement that we'll do with stakeholders over the course of 2020 and early 2021 that will drive some of the recommendations that will come out of those, of specifically that initiative. So thank you for the question.
To clarify, what, honey?
I see Mary Fisher.
Yeah, I can add a little bit. As you might imagine, with everything that we've been doing, and I appreciate the kind words, we are very busy. We are very busy, and as a result, what we've done is we've gone out and we're interviewing contractors to come in and help us with this analysis. And to your point, it's put us a bit behind, but not significantly. So Tim was right. We originally were shooting for the middle of 2021. We will have this complete by the end of 2021, and we will be doing public outreach between now and then to get input from the public on what you would like to see us include in this study. So we're putting it together. We're trying to get a contractor on board, and then we'll move forward with some stakeholder outreach. So thank you for the question and the time to comment.
Stakeholder outreach is going to happen.
Okay. Go ahead. It looks like we have an additional hand raised. Dr. Corbin? Unmuted. Go ahead, David.
Hello?
Yep, we're good. Name and address.
I
please.
just did it because I thought you were asking me to test it.
Oh, got it. All right. Any additional chats, Brent, that we need to respond to? Chat requests.
I have not seen any, no.
Okay, members of the in-person public, I should say. Any comments? Okay, last call for comments. I'm looking for raised hands. And we're good. Okay, Ms. Henders, could you call the roll, please?
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Mulhall,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Mr. Burke, President's report.
Yeah, I just want to thank the board for that appreciation on behalf of all the men and women at OPPD. You know, there has been a lot of work done. The storm is just one of them, but if I would tell you that in our generating facilities, I don't believe we've had one weekend where we haven't had a call out because of an issue or a problem. That's the same on our T&D side and probably in other parts of our organization as well. And so, you know, I just want to thank you. That recognition is much appreciated by the men and women at OPPD, the management team that works with them so closely. And this really does mean the world to them, what you think and what you say and how you appreciate them. And so I just want to thank you very much. You know, we had the opportunity to report to the board on Tuesday about our best places to work results. And this just adds to that when the employees know that they're appreciated. So I just want to thank you very much. I get the greatest job in the world because I get to work with folks that are just absolutely amazing every single day, that'll leave their families on birthdays and holidays and sicknesses where they come to work to help support customers. And I wouldn't want to go to war with any other group in my life. And that's how much I think about the men and women at OPPD. So thanks for that appreciation for them. Let's talk a little bit about the storm. There's some pictures on the screen here. Pretty significant damage, and you're hearing and reading about it across multiple states. And I'm going to try to just put my glasses on without fogging up. So, you know, we had 57,000 customers out. We had over 150 OPPD resources in the field, another 113 forestry workers, 28 external contractors, including Ellie Myers and Watts. We had folks from LES and Loop in Cummings County to support us. Just absolutely amazing. And we were able to complete that at 2,200 hours by 10 o'clock last night. Everybody was on. And a lot of that work to restore that little bit of power at the end was just to get rid of trees and to allow our folks to be able to do their great work. So congrats to all of our men and women from the call center to the forestry folks, to the ESDs, to the line techs, everybody else in between that supplying materials to support them and all the support is just absolutely amazing. And so I wanted to give a quick update to that because that's certainly spent a lot of time for our men and women to restore power, and some of them have been asked to go to Eastern Iowa to help support the restoration there. That's just who we are as an industry. I'm going to move to the next slide, which is our traditional slides in the President's report to talk about our baseload generation. Not a lot of significant news here, a little higher capacity factors, primarily because of the heat that we've seen in the Midwest. And so we'll see that continue as this heat persists in the Midwest. On our peaking facilities, just a couple things. Compared to last year, Cass County had about a 15% capacity factor, and this year it's 19%. North Omaha unit, you know, operated, was called to operate for about 7.5 hours. You know, pretty unusual for them to get called upon, except for really uniquenesses going on in the market because the market needed the energy and transmission resiliency support. Same kind of thing with North Omaha Unit 3. That started 3 times in July. And so those units, if those that are on the line know, have been converted from coal to natural gas, and part of Power with Purpose will essentially be moved and decommissioned at some point in time. And then our Sarpy County capacity factor is 5.6%, really no significant difference from 2019. So our peaking stations still provide critical, important energy and voltage support to our system. And thanks to the teams that work on that. From a Fort Calhoun decommissioning, we have multiple projects that are underway, and we're really trying to prepare site buildings for demolition. That includes everything from detensioning the containment tendons, removing all the energy sources from selected buildings for safety purposes, surveying of structures to ensure all the hazards are identified and removed. And our intent is to have the physical destruction of buildings to begin as early as 2021. So that work continues, and our teams and our partners are doing just marvelous work there in a very safe manner. We appreciate that. Renewables for the month of July contributed about 27% of OPPD's retail energy sales, primarily because what you'll see on these very, very hot days is a reduction of our renewable resources, except for some of the early community solar that we have. And I'll start reporting on that next month. I thought I was going to do that this month, and we just didn't pull all that data yet. And so we'll see that reduced during the summer months, but as we begin to add solar in our portfolio, we're going to see that drive back up. Year to date, renewable energy contributed to about 37.6% of our retail energy sales, and our capacity factor for renewables was 48.1%. And I know there's been several conversations here about vehicles. Director Williams and one of our public attendees talked a little bit about that. But in 2020 and 2021, OPPD will begin, again, similar rebates that we have done in the past. Our intent is to provide up to 93 car charging combo rebates, both the car and the charger, and then about 113 charger-only rebates for residential customers. What is unique to that, which is very consistent with what Director Williams and the public participant talked about, was us focusing in on fleet car charger combo rebates. We have 36 that are available in that fleet area, and 20 charger-only rebates. And the rebates are $2,500 for both car and charger rebates, and $500 for chargers. And part of the grant process that we went through, it was approved by the Nebraska Community Energy Alliance, and it's a 2021 grant, and it's for the rebate program. And again, we worked, and it'll be managed very closely by the Nebraska Environmental Trust as well. So great partnership. We'll continue to do that. You'll begin to see as early as this month, social and digital displays. Actually, they began in July. And for the fleet side, we'll be working in late August to begin to do some of that work. And in conjunction with the grant that we received, we'll be putting together some educational tools as well. And so we'll use some of these funds to really dedicate it to vehicle education for the public and for fleet owners, to really put together an appropriate set of materials and websites to really support the exploration of opportunities with electric vehicles, but also incorporate a variety of graphics and other tools like an EV calculator to really help people think about that EV buying decision. So very, very important. Our team's doing some really great work around this. We'll continue to work through all of these challenges and essentially get rid of all the grant dollars we can possibly get rid of. And then on the next slide, this is really for the public. Because of the nature that we're in today with COVID-19, and because part of our operation at OPPD is critical infrastructure, we wanted to make sure that we do not have visitors from the outside come into the public during this time, so that we can protect the health and the welfare of our critical infrastructure employees that are either critical infrastructure to our digital systems, our transmission systems, our distribution systems, our power plants, as well as our critical call center folks that have been and can be impacted by COVID-19 and truly impact our operation. So we've kind of laid out for the next several months through the end of the year the proposed dates, but I would ask folks to be incredibly flexible, as this may change based on how this facility is used. We have a great partnership with the Douglas County building folks and the city and county. Just a great partnership. And I want to thank them for all the work that they've done to help prepare us to be here today. But also we understand that this is used by other entities with other critical work as well. So we'll continue to look at this option, but also the opportunities would be the dates may fluctuate and change. We showed some of the dates here today. And as soon as we have them confirmed and committed, both dates, times, and location, we'll make sure that we publish those. And finally, as Director McGuire talked about our retirees, certainly a critical part of OPPD's history, but each month we identify an employee that died in the line of service. And today I want to talk about Dwayne Hanson, who died July 22nd, 1968. He died from injuries sustained when a pole he was helping to remove toppled. And just think about what happened this past week with trees and branches and pole impacts across our region. The crew was removing a line near 8th and Douglas Street in Omaha to prepare for dismantling of the old Exarban Bridge. He was 26 years old. He was an apprentice who had only been with the OPPD for about 13 months at the time of his death, and he was survived by his wife, Beverly. And so that concludes the OPPD's President's Report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burke, much appreciated. Okay, we are on to the last item on the agenda, opportunity for comment on other items of district business. We will start with those attending via Webex. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in Webex. If you are only on a telephone, please press *3 to raise your virtual hand. Okay, I see Mr. Pavoka or perhaps Dr. Mendenhall is with a hand up. We can start there and allow others to fill in the line as they get their hand raised. So could we unmute the Ellen Pavoka user, please? Okay, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes, name and address, please.
Alan Vavoka, 3719 Hamilton. First, I noticed that you've got a schedule where you've had to move some of the board meetings to Wednesdays. There was discussion at the committee meeting about not having enough time between Tuesday and Wednesday to conduct business. Just wondered if anybody thought about moving some of the committee meetings, which are still virtual, to Monday in that situation, so that there would be the same number of hours that you're accustomed to between meetings. But the question that I want to ask, I did notice there were TV commercials, so that OPPD is putting on local television stations. And I kind of wondered who the target audience for that is. Nobody's worried about anyone buying their electricity from your competitor, I assume. So I'm just wondering if that's really a good thing for OPPD to be spending money on.
You want to comment? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alan, for that comment. What we have heard in the research that we have done with customers is there are times where they don't know what we do and how we do it in the public, whether that's in responding to outages or whether or not we actually have people in generating plants, or how much renewable resources we have, or what we're doing around things in the community. And what we've heard from them is, hey, you got to tell your story. And these are our customer owners telling us to help us tell our story. And so we do that in a number of ways. We'll do it in bill inserts, but a lot of people are going virtual. They still get the outlets in their bill, in the email. We do it on social media. We'll do it through Facebook and Twitter. But we also wanted to do it in this medium to really capture kind of the full scope of our customer owners. And again, it's not significant, but what we heard when we started this a year ago, when we began to talk about what our employees doing and kind of in a day of a life of our employees, is that we got some really good feedback from customers saying, thanks for telling that story. We forget about that. And so it's just an opportunity for us to really respond to our customer owners so they know what we're doing in the community and how we do it in the community. So thanks for that question.
Let me just add a board member's perspective, if I could. Understand the question, Mr. Vivolka, and completely reasonable assessment. From my perspective, I don't want to wait until a member of the public has a problem for them to contact us. I would rather positively engage and bring them to us in a way that helps, as a public utility, that helps us think about where we're going in the future. So a lot of this is about that web of interactions that we have with members of the public. And, we're going to be asking them for, input on the decarbonization initiative as an example. So for me, it's about these impressions and positive impressions more so than anything, and not waiting for, a line to go down due to a straight line wind for that to be the only interaction that they have with us. Okay, I'm looking for additional virtual hands raised. Dr. Corbin has his hand up. Let's go ahead and unmute him.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead. Name and address, please.
Hey, David, 1002 North 49th Street, Nebraska Sierra Club. I was glad to hear that solar is going to be added to the president's report. And as most of you may know, Sierra Club has been advocating for the CARES Act received for utility assistance. And I'm hoping that that will be also added to the president's report or be part of some other report so that we know and how many people are getting it and whether we'll need more, and if we need to assist people who might be having problems getting it who need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Corbin. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and our intent is to provide regular updates to the board on very similar items that we did this past Tuesday on customer trends relative to collections and disconnections, and certainly the CARES Act that was recently approved by the Douglas County Board of Commissioners.
Yep, and I think it's fair to say that all board members are very acutely aware of the challenges that some customers might be having. So we're going to be curious about that every month when we get that report. Okay, again, pausing for any virtual attendees to send a chat to the meeting host or raise their virtual hand. I do not see any virtual, oh, no, that's been done. Brent, any chat requests for comment?
I have not had any, sir.
Okay, so let's go to the in-person members of the public. If they would like to make any comment, now is the time. Name and address, and you've got 3 minutes, please. Hold on, John, is his mic on? One moment, John. We want to make sure we get this captured.
John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. I may end up asking for a little bit of extra time. I have a couple of specific suggestions at the end. I'm going to focus on the derecho wind event, but as a historical note, the first named derecho, or the name came from a scientific paper that resulted from a storm that hit beginning in Omaha on July 4th, 1980. And it interrupted the fireworks display, but then it kept going and it made it all the way to the East Coast. And that attracted some attention, and they started looking into what causes these storms. They're very hard to predict. We have an idea what the precursors are. You need a very humid air mass near the ground. You need a dry layer aloft that's unstable. And then you need a jet stream to move the storms along that's, and usually there's a little bit of colder air coming in aloft. The long-term frequency for derechos in this part of the country is probably on the order of 1 every 5 years. But it's been a lot more than 5 years since we had the last one in Omaha. So that's been that much more time for the trees to grow and damage potential. The reason they're hard to forecast is because the gust front acts like a giant plow blade. It acts to lift the warm, moist air from near the ground level all the way up to the top of the storm. And then the precipitation falls in behind. It is cooled by going through the drier air that's in the mid-levels. And then when it reaches the ground, it's heavy and dense, and it makes all that extreme wind. Winds of 70 to 100 miles an hour are common in a derecho. Over 100, like they got in some places in Iowa, is more rare. That's a really extreme event. But this has to be in balance.
30 seconds.
Because if the gust front moves out too fast, it'll move the moisture supply away from the storms. If it's too slow, then there'll be too much dry air that gets in, and that'll kill the system. So it has to be organized just so. And then figuring out whether that balance exists is very difficult until the storm actually gets going, which is why it's very hard to warn on. So I see I'm out of time
John,
on that. I'll
give you another couple minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The two suggestions that I have, first one was from my personal experience. I appreciate we did not lose power except for a couple of brief interruptions, and I know that's due to an overall well-maintained system. But I experienced difficulty because up the block from us, a tree branch fell, and it was on the wire that serves the street lights. And it turns out that there isn't a very good way to report that because the outage isn't at my house. It isn't an interruption to electrical service. It didn't even turn off the street lights, as far as I could tell, that it was unsafe to take the tree down unless you had somebody who knew what they were doing about that wire. So I would like to suggest that in the reporting, there's a form for other, so that it's possible to describe a situation like that and say, well, it doesn't really fit any of these categories, but it needs attention anyway. And I didn't really see that either. And by phone, it assumes that the locale is your address. So I ended up actually not making the report, and somebody else must have phoned it in, or however they contacted. The other suggestion that I have, and this is more of a long term, we know that there are trees that are more susceptible to wind damage and some that are less. And these are periodic events. So, and I know you mentioned that there are forestry people. I'm sure they know more than I do about it. I can think of a couple of tree species that have very good branch patterns. And by the way, the same trees that are susceptible to wind damage are also more susceptible to ice damage. So if we could get people to be planting I know people want shade trees. They like big, tall trees. If they could be planting more trees like catalpa or American linden that have a favorable branch pattern, then OPPD is able to know which trees are good, which trees are so-so, and which trees are lousy, like silver maples, and publicize that. And I think over time, we could actually improve the city treescape and make it more wind resistant by educating the public. That was it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Pollack. I appreciate it. Any additional comments from members of the public in the room? Seems the answer is no. Okay, one last call for virtual comments. I think I see what is a stale hand from Mr. Vivolka. Any chat requests, Brent, or comments?
We do not have any. However, Mr. Vivolka may have additional comments.
Okay, so let's unmute him and see. Perhaps we didn't give him his full 3 minutes. Vivolka, did you have additional comments, sir?
No additional comment.
Okay. In which case, I think that concludes the comment period. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and flexibility with today's meeting. We'll continue to make enhancements and refinements as we go, but I think generally speaking, it went quite a couple technical difficulties really well. We are adjourned.